My guest is a men's coach and the founder of The Gathering of Men, a wild hearted leader blending primal wisdom with practical structure. My guest bridges ancient initiation with modern ambition. From archetype mapping to wedding rituals to 100K races, this isn't a man who is just living the work. He is the work. And he's willing to walk barefoot through the fire just so he can create meaningful initiation pathways for other men. In this episode, we explore men in relationships and the deep initiation work that empowers a man to live from his heart and build the life he was born for. Enjoy the episode. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of the Skin I'm In podcast. I'm your host, Chanel, and this is the space where real stories meet radical self-discovery. Here, you'll find peace through clarity, purpose through inspiration, and the permission to be your authentic self through the stories of men and women who've walked the path before us. If this show moves you, hit that like button, share it with someone you care about, or subscribe so you never miss an episode. That small but powerful act helps the show grow and brings in the guest you most want to hear from. In return, my promise to you is that I'll keep showing up with the raw, the real, and the conversations that crack us wide open, reminding us we're not alone. So, let's dive in and find the light in the shadows together. Welcome to the Skin I'm In podcast, Jacob. It is so great to have you on the show.
Stoked to be here. Thank you for having me.
There's just so many things that I want to cover with you today because we had just one of those epic initial conversations when I first found out about what you do. So you are a men's coach and you are the founder of The Gathering of Men. Did you always want to work with men, or did something occur in your life where it kind of guided you down this path?
I never wanted to do this. And it's not easy. It's not an easy job. Like, one of the things I've learned from watching Instagram and the fun loving shiny Gold Coast lifestyle is that there's this idea that coaching is this, like, I can do whatever I want whenever I want. It's a free ride. It's like, I just work when I want to work. I do what I want. I go to the beach in the middle of the day. Coaching is actually one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it's because it requires a level of integrity. And if you're not in integrity, you can still do it, but at the end of the day, everything's going to fall away. So for me, it wasn't something that I ever really wanted to do. I never wrote it in my school journal. Hey, when I grow up, I want to be a men's coach. I want to be a fire. I wanted to save the world. And in some way, that sort of played out with me trying to save every man on the planet. And that was my story to begin with. Having lost a friend to suicide and experienced bullying and feeling as though I didn't belong. There were so many key pieces along my journey that led to me essentially creating a space of safety, of belonging, and of where men are valued. That's essentially what I created out of experiencing a lack of safety, a lack of belonging, and not really feeling valued. And then seeing other men, close friends, struggle in relationships, seeing men that I loved and adored and were really close to hang themselves, kill themselves, do silly things, and check out. So, part of this work is driven by pain. It's driven by grief. It's driven by being angry at the way things were and wanting to change the way things are going to be. So, I don't know if that's an inspiring answer, but it's a true answer.
Well, I mean, you're wanting to save the world as a kid is a great thing to aspire to. I wanted to have a nightclub. So that was my dream in grade 6. I've never been to a club, so it's way more inspiring than what my story was, that's for sure. When you think of, and I ask this because I feel like there's a lot of resistance for men to do their work. In what ways do you think this work impacts relationships, and why do you think it is so essential for men to start getting on this journey?
Well, the one key piece that I always speak into men when they're like, oh, I'll just do it myself, or I'll figure it out. I don't really need this. Like, oh, I can't afford it. Or there's a few other things that I've got to do first. When I do this, then I'll come and do it. Once I've figured it out myself, then I'll come and tell you what I actually need. The key thing that I believe men are missing out on is if you don't experience what it's like to be held, like really, really held in your vulnerability and held in your falling apart and held in your messy, your ugly, the parts of you that you don't believe are worthy of love, if you don't learn to be held in those, you will struggle to hold a woman in her unraveling. And that's the gift. When women say they want to be provided for, what they want to be provided is presence, like deep presence. Yeah, pay the bills. Yeah, buy the flowers, do all that other stuff. But when it comes to the crunch, a woman wants to be provided presence with who she is in that moment as she brings that. And if you haven't stepped into a space where you've experienced what it's like to be held in your uncontrollable state, in your unraveling, that's what I call it, your ugliness or your messiness, then you will really struggle to give your gift of presence and of masculine containment to a woman. Just how it is.
You said something really key there that I want to focus on. I think we have really, whether we misunderstood or the narrative that's been designed for us is that providing from men is material. I think ancient ancestors of ours knew that that's not the be-all and end-all of what providing actually is, because providing space for our own unfolding, given how different our cycles are compared to the cycles of men, I think has been one of the greatest things that I've ever learned through this podcast and through the conversations that I've been having. And the other thing that you mentioned was that piece about, because I do think it happens a lot in men, but I think that it happens a lot both for men and women, in that, let me find out what my problem is first and then I'll tell you how to fix it. I mean, if anyone's done the work, there are so many things you don't know that are going on that you are present to once you discover those things. And for people who haven't gone down that journey, just don't know what's possible and the things that are hiding in our own shadows that we don't even know where to look, that they're the things that we really need to work on, not the things that we think we know. So
I think that's a huge thing that, like, a lot of people don't understand the unconscious independence, and they call it I'm taking full responsibility for my life. But what you're actually saying is that I'm actually scared of being seen in a version of myself that I still don't love.
Oh yeah.
And
that's massive.
And that's my story. I don't want to show you the messy parts of me, because in the past, those messy parts got me in trouble. Those messy parts had me kicked out of the club. The messy parts had me in the bad books. That messy parts meant that I was rejected, abandoned, or hurt. So for me to bring those parts to you, I'm scared that that's going to happen again. But that's why courage is only courage if vulnerability is included. Courage isn't doing something that you've done before. No, courage is only courage when vulnerability is at its core.
Yeah, and you can't build being brave, like that brave muscle. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but you can't really build that without exercising courage. Like you can't. Everything's going to be hard the first few times. Like, come on, dating is hard the first few dates are awkward as shit, man. So how are you ever going to find anybody or do anything in life if you don't take the chance and do something a couple of times first? So in the work that you're doing, because let's talk about relationships, you focus a lot on relationships on your socials. Talk to me about what you're finding when we deal with, or when you're dealing with the unaddressed pain of men. How is that showing up in relationships?
So the way that I'll explain it, because I'll always reference how it shows up for men and how it shows up for women. So everyone's like, okay, cool. So women, traditionally, most of the time, like I'm gonna use generalizations. So shoot me or judge me or cancel me. I don't care. I'm over apologizing for what I believe and what I've learned through my work. Men are different to women. First and foremost, it just is. That's just biologically, spiritually, energetically, we are different. Our nervous systems are different. Everything. The sooner we acknowledge that we are not here to go through our evolution and our growth the same way as women, that's when we can actually start to do the right work, the RITE, the ritual work that is here for us. We don't bleed once a month. We do not move on a 28-day cycle. We don't have that innate intelligence inbuilt into our womb. And the womb is the access to the infinite. Like women carry the ability to birth souls. I don't think we really understand that, or we don't give it the weight that we should. Like, that shit is crazy. And my wife gave birth at home here. We had a beautiful home birth, and it was amazing. And witnessing that, I'm like, okay, I don't know shit about being a woman, and I never fucking will. And I have so much respect for women now, not just the birth experience, but for women. Like, wow, every month you go through a cycle of releasing and remembering that you have the innate ability to birth a soul. Holy shit. Fuck, that must be wild to be on a 28-day cycle doing that. Like, I don't know what that's like. So the first thing that I think for men is, like, in relationships, I don't know what it's like to be a woman. So I can be curious and start to use my curiosity to understand her better. How can I use my curiosity and my awareness to understand her better? That's one little piece that I'll give to men. The other piece here is we both have very different core wounds. For a woman with a feminine core, or predominantly feminine in her physical, emotional, spiritual body, the wound that will most of the time show up is, I'm too much, so I have to shrink. And that's just, I've spoken to hundreds of women, all in this work, and they all have in some different shade or color palette, that is at the core of what their experience is that I want to be who I am, but somewhere in my life I was told that that was too much and I had to tone it down. For men have a core wound as well, but it's not necessarily that I'm too much. It's the other end of the spectrum, which is I'm not enough. So therefore, I'm going to try and do as much as I can to prove that I am worthy of your love, of your acceptance. So we see men overexerting themselves to try and to prove through business, through conquest, through achieving, through success, through wealth, through women, that they are in fact good enough. And both of these wounds, that I'm too much and I'm not enough, they are both blocking us from accessing what it is that is true, which is that we are inherently worthy and we are whole, and that there is nothing actually wrong with us. Which in my season of life right now, I'm being initiated yet again with being a father, and all of this stuff has been coming up for me. I'm having a bit of a life crisis right now, which is beautiful, but I'm actually having this realization that nothing's actually wrong. And a lot of my life, all I've done is try to fix things and prove that I'm valuable. Hey, I'm valuable, so don't leave me. Hey, I'm valuable, like, let me belong. Hey, I'm valuable, let me join the team. Hey, I'm valuable. I've spent my entire life earning my place when I never had anything to earn in the first place. I was already enough. So if I could give one, I know that's a lot, but if I could give one real solid piece of advice to men, is there's nothing wrong with you. You don't need to prove that you are enough. You are worthy. And in the game of life, you get to go and do whatever you're called to do, whatever you're drawn to do, and develop value by learning skills and then exchanging those with the world in a healthy way. From this place of, I'm already enough. I don't need to prove that I'm good enough by being the best investment banker or the best men's coach. I don't need to save 10 million lives. All I have to do is be Jacob. And that takes so much pressure off. I now no longer have to get it right because I'm scared of getting it wrong. I now just get to be. And then from being, I can build a foundation for my life, for my family, that is true. That when the challenges do come, I don't crumble because my foundations are strong.
There are so many things in that, and I'm trying really hard not to, like, tear up, right? Because You brought up so many things. I literally had a conversation with a woman that I'll be having on the show in the near future about women being too much. It's like her whole brand. She talks about it nonstop. And she had said to me the other day that the result of us being suppressed in that way of, no, you're not allowed to be this version of yourself, is that we have started to believe that we are not enough. And so we are too much and not enough at the same time as women. And that is exhausting. Until I started really listening to men, which happened, interestingly, after I miscarried last year. I have a real feeling I was going to birth a son. I don't know what it was, but I was just like, something is telling me I now need to listen to men. Until I started really listening, I didn't realize that they had such a strong I'm not enough wound. And when you think of that in the context of relationships and in, let's talk like our society, the addiction to porn, the addiction to drugs, the addiction to alcohol, the addiction to, so many things that are normal parts of our social interactions, or that they've normalized as part of our social interactions, really holds men back from truly meeting themselves as men. And that makes me wonder, how does that stunt, stifle, or get in the way of them having real loving relationships? Like, what are you seeing in the work that you do that really shifts their ability to love when they do meet themselves?
So to fully understand this, I think, for men, we have to understand that love is an energy that flows both ways. Once again, so we have I work with a lineage from Peru, and work with plant medicines, and that's been my journey, and deep work. But beyond the ceremony and the whichever psychedelic or whatever modality you're using, the core principle, the core teaching of the lineage that I work with is this word called ayni, AYNI. And this word means sacred reciprocity, that nothing goes one way. So for a lot of men, we believe that love is only given, not received. So what happens if nothing goes one way? If we're giving, and then quite often one of the things that frustrates my wife most about me is that she's like, I want to love you, but for me to love you, you've got to let me in.
Yeah.
I don't know if any other woman feels annoyed about a man that just won't fucking like submit to her love. And ironically, what I crave most is feminine, like nurturing. I crave the nurturing feminine. And I only, honestly, in the last 2 weeks have really relaxed somewhat into that. And it's still hard for me because I think every time I receive something, I'm in debt. So one of the biggest things that I think men struggle with is still seeing love in the form of currency. They still keep an accounting log on how love is given and received. And what we tend to believe, because we're not enough, or that's the story, what we tend to believe as men is that we need to give 10 to get 1.
I sit here, and in all the conversations I've had with my friends, of all the women that I've listened to on this show, both on and off air, one of the things that we don't understand the most is, why will you just not let me love you? Why can you not see that you are deserving of this love? Why? And they cannot answer it. Men cannot answer it. And so please dive into this for all the women who are listening, because we are tired of trying to love the shit out of our partners and getting very little across the line.
So most men grew up in a household where their mother did not get emotionally supported by her husband. So therefore, he might not have even fucking been there. They might have broken up. So what normally happened was that the mother would turn her emotional needs toward her son. And because he was there and he didn't really have the ability to understand what was going on, nor did she. Like, this isn't a mother's fault. This is society. This is a societal problem. This is a cultural problem. This is not here. I'm not here to make mums the problem or that or fathers the problem. I'm talking from a cultural perspective. The husband did not have the capacity to meet the mother's emotional needs, or he was just, or the severing of the family unit happened and the divorce happened and he moved out or whatever happened. Then the mother stays with the children. Normally, the son will take on the role of emotional caregiver, emotional lover. What that trains him into is that he then bases his life off, oh, this is now my role for my mother. And he learns that love is a currency and that he's responsible for the emotional state of others. So, and he'll abandon himself, put himself in harm's way. He will do things that are not in his best interest to ensure that his mother, his first love, is safe, is comfortable, is happy. So then, when men get into relationships, what they do is they focus on the woman and they don't they put the woman at the center of the relationship and they step outside of it. And they go to work, they make some money, they pay for the home, they pay for what they need to, and they say that they're a provider, they say that they're doing what they should do for a woman. I'm doing all the right things and now she wants to leave. It's because he has taught himself, by no fault of his own, just by circumstance, that his role is to make sure that you are happy and comfortable and safe and that he doesn't matter.
So then, Jacob, how do you explain all the little boys that are running around who are looking for mothers in their partners? How do you explain that?
So what I believe is it's kind of, what do you call it when things overcorrect? So I think there were a lot of boys that had to be men, and I think there's now a lot of men that are trying to get what they never got as boys.
That would be really hard for men to admit.
Yeah, we don't admit that because that would mean that there's something, that there's something for us to work on. No, we're fine. We're fine. There's nothing wrong with us. We're happy with the way things are.
Yeah, when you have your partner being your partner and your mother, of course you're happy with the way things are.
I don't have to be. I don't have to get uncomfortable. I don't have to grow. I just get to, and that's a big part of it. It's like, it's actually the most incredibly selfish thing to not do this work. Like, men are like, oh, I can't do it because I've got to pay for this, or it's my kid's birthday, or it's my wife's thing, or I need to. You're actually being selfish by using them as the excuse. You're actually being selfish by using everything else as an excuse. So, one of the things that I encourage women to do is, I was like, love him for where he is and call him into his potential. Take note of the actions that he takes. And if they aren't in alignment with what you truly desire, then you have to be willing to sacrifice what it is that you deeply want with this man, which is the relationship. You have to be okay that the relationship that you desire may not be with him. And that's huge for a woman, because for her, the most important thing is connection. The most important thing is the relationship. And this is where I say it's incredibly selfish, because it pains a woman who is connected to her feminine core when she can see literally what's possible for this man, yet he is so stubborn, he is so righteous as to never actually listen to her. And this is why I don't believe in the, men are only the ones that can lead. You've got to always follow the man. Like, I truly believe in feminine leadership, or seer, like the seer, the oracle. It's like sometimes women can see what we can't feel. Women can see what we men cannot feel. So it would pay to actually listen to women. Not in a way that, like, oh, the woman's always right, happy wife, happy life, but in a, hey, my love, like, I've got some information to share with you that's probably going to sting, but you need to hear this. And there's a level of humility that comes from listening to your partner, your wife, your woman. I wouldn't be where I am today without shutting the fuck up and listening and being really, really honest with myself when I say, oh, shit, you're right. Thank you.
What a beautiful way to receive.
Yeah.
I'm so emotional. These conversations absolutely light me up, but they're also a depth that I have been craving for a really long time, because for a really long time, Jacob, I'm like, something doesn't seem right with what we're being taught as young girls and what young boys are being taught about relationships and the dynamics of those relationships. And I love that you just brought up the fact that it's not just men who lead. I'm now really realizing just how much we have been sold a lie about what leadership actually is. If women were truly in their power, they would know how to lead from the feminine. If men were in their power, truly deeply felt themselves as men, they would lead with, from their masculine. And I think that the fact that you've brought that up, you're the first person who's brought that up on the show, and I thank you for that, because it's something that's really going to sit with me for a few days. Yeah, and I'm sure with the listeners as well, because it's something we don't hear very often.
And I want people to understand that, like, leadership is like giving your gifts unconditionally. Like, leadership isn't like, I'm going to be the king of the castle and I'm going to make sure that everyone's looked after and this is going to happen and I'm going to be the best. It's not like that. Leadership, like, I really want to reframe leadership as like, I'm going to give the gifts that I'm being asked to give. My wife Meg and I call this like honoring the truth of the moment. There's what I want, there's what you want, and then there's this emerging truth that is asking us to honor it with our gifts. And sometimes that means that I'm being asked to be a devotee of love, a devotee of this practice of relating. I'm not devoted to you, I'm devoted to the field. And the field is asking me to do this, to step in and lead. The field is asking me to surrender and actually let you take the reins for this window of time. I'm no longer dogmatically forcing my rigid will upon this moment and freezing what was once a living, breathing entity. I'm giving it enough space that I can relate with it in a living way, in a good way, rather than bringing all of my, I read this book, listened to this podcast, did this course, and now I know. I actually don't know. Let me lean in. Let me relate with this. And this is a huge thing that I've only just recently become aware of too, Chanel, is like, I didn't realize how tightly I was gripping hold of my life. And now I'm actually just being like, hang on, I'm here to have a relationship with life, not to manage it or control it. I'm good at that with Meg. Like, Meg and I have this beautiful living, breathing relationship. And I was like, oh, with life, I grab and I hold on and I'm scared that there's not going to be enough for me. What if I let go? I said, hey, life, I want a relationship with you. Here's what I want. Show me what you've got. Show me what's possible. Here's my desires right now. I'm okay with, sharing them with you, but show me what's possible. And when we bring that to a relationship, there's a I'm giving and I'm receiving. For most men, they're like, just show me what you want and then I'll go and do what I can to give it to you. Instead of being like, hey, here's what I desire, and show me your cards and I'll show you my cards, you show me yours. And let's stop competing against each other, and let's actually create something more beautiful than we could together, than we could create on our own.
Hey folks, quick gut check. Are you actually nourishing your insides or just surviving on lattes and get through the week vibes? I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. There is a way to boost your energy, cleanse your system, and kick that bloat to the curb. Enter Supercharged Food, a proud supporter of this show and a beautiful heart-led business founded by a clinical nutritionist who believes that real healing starts in the gut. They offer powerful nutritionist-developed supplements like Fulvicumic drops, collagen-boosting bundles, and their best-selling Love Your Gut Symbiotic, packed with prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes your microbiome will love. Plus, their books and recipes will change the way you look at health from the inside out. Hit the link in the show notes and use the code TheSkinI'mIn to get 10% off every order. Alrighty, let's get back to the show. If men and women had that relationship with life, relationships in general would be so much easier. Because I'm listening to it and I'm like, oh, this feels so soft and nice and like flow and beautiful. And I'm like, hang on a second. I've spent my whole life like you.
Mm.
And look, I come from a war-torn country. I spent the first 5.5 years of my life in and out of bomb shelters. Like, it's not like I had a great childhood. It was really hard when we moved to Australia as well. And so when I moved here, I felt like this was my prison. My life in a war-torn country felt even more beautiful to me. So I felt like I had to hang on to whatever I had left of that memory, and did that for a good 35 years, until, I had massive wake-up calls in 2021. But if we had that relationship with life, relationships would come with so much ease. And it sounds easy.
Mm.
But is it, Jacob?
There's nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And I want to temper that. I don't want to. I want to speak into that from a place of privilege as well. I'm totally aware of what's going on in the world. I don't understand why it's happening, nor do I know the intricacies of what's going on. But I do not. Children being killed and abused, that is wrong. I have a moral compass. I'm not here to be some like spiritual fucking idiot. There are things that are happening in the world that should not be happening. I'm well aware of that. But when we come back, and if we're really going to focus on ourselves, and if I was to sit here in front of you, Chanel, and like create this whole story that there's something wrong with my life, just so I could, suffer because other people are suffering, and I don't want to actually enjoy myself. I don't want to actually like acknowledge that there is, because I can't actually be of value if I'm still trying to fix myself or operate from a place that there's something wrong with me. Because then I'm going to go out and look for things that are wrong. I'm going to keep on perpetuating that which is inside of me. So my greatest gift is to actually come back and be like, hang on, there's nothing wrong right now. And if there's nothing wrong, and I don't need to rush out and save and fix and solve a problem, that I need to find something just so I can create value, just so I can say, hey, I matter. Hey, look at me, like my identity is needed in this world. If I say there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing wrong right now, I then actually have to move from a deeper place rather than just react. I have to go deeper within myself and say, okay, how would I like to move in this moment? Rather than just rush off into the next burning building, whatever that is. Yeah.
What do you think is so? I feel like there is a bit of an addiction to suffering. What do you think that is?
It's an addiction to the story. It's an addiction to the ego. We're addicted to identity. It's like, I'm addicted to knowing who I am. And I'm going to do everything in my power to maintain knowing. And to not know is actually, what that is a fear of death.
Can you elaborate on that?
So quite often, when we work with rites of passage, one of my friends, Leon, who's an incredible mythopoetic storyteller, he says, in a good initiation, the soul dies and is reborn. But a lot of men get that confused with physical death. So the soul wants to go through a purification process. But men think that means that they actually want to kill themselves. But what they're really wanting to do is to go through a rite of passage and have a dark night of the soul, and re-emerge lighter and more connected to who they are for this next season of their life. What happens is that we avoid death. We avoid that feeling because it's unknown, and the unknown is quote unquote bad, and knowing is good. If I know things, then I can control things, and therefore I can win. So we actually see everything as a linear path. We don't see things as cycles. One of the biggest things that we say in our workshops is like, man, you are part of the natural world. And what does the natural world have 4 of every year? Seasons, right? And what do each of these seasons represent? A different stage of life. The winter is the death. Spring is like birth. Summer is the time of like outwardness. And then autumn, you start to wither. And then you die. And then you come out and you're reborn. And like, there's actually a rhythm here that when we remember that we are nature, we can move through the cycles. But because we've got pharmaceuticals and we've got packaged foods and we've got all of these convenience driven concepts, we actually don't ever go through the appropriate cycles to create a regenerative lifestyle. Therefore, we create a lifestyle that is sustainable but not regenerative. So sustainability in some ways is still disconnected from nature because it says, oh, we have to do it rather than we get to be a part of it. And this is why I keep talking about, like, you know, I talk about relationships a lot. Yes, I have a relationship with my wife, but I'm also relating with all things. I'm relating with the seasons within myself. I'm relating with the seasons within the forest, within the, like, I am in relationship with life. So be aware of where you're trying to sustain a lifestyle that avoids the seasons that are required for you to experience a regenerative life.
That has got to be the best way to explain that. I don't think people give any thought, most people give any thought to the fact that things have to die in order to make space for new things to grow. And it didn't actually occur to me until you said that men look at it as a physical death. I'm like, I have died and I've buried myself like 18 times in my life. Like, I am, like, there's a rising phoenix, that whole thing about rising phoenix for a reason.
Yeah.
Because without that, you don't know, you cannot grow the next layer of skin. You literally shed skin. Like, everything sheds, like everything dies off. I love that you've just said that. Oh my God, what a beautiful way to explain it.
A good culture has elders, and the elders will watch all of the community, and the elders will be the one that be like, Jacob is burning a little brightly. It's time for him to die. We take him into the forest. We put him through the process. He unbecomes, and then he becomes. And we put him through, hey, Jacob's burning brightly. He's showing signs of leadership. He's showing signs of wanting to step up. He wants more responsibility. We see that. Cool. Well, let's make sure he's ready for that. Let's put him through an appropriate experience of death and rebirth so he knows what's required of him. We don't just give him power. Don't just let him blaze in here and take ownership. We as elders tend to the becoming of all of the community. And that is what's most likely missing. And what we're working on recreating is like these appropriate elders. So men are reinstated into a healthy regenerative cycle within their journey of manhood. Yeah.
I was literally about to say that to you because I'm like, well, we are living in a life and space and timeline where elders are literally being pushed to obscurity and there's hardly any elders for us to look up to. How do you create these initiation pathways? Because I know that's a big part of the work that you do.
You start. That's the first thing. Like, you do it. You start. That's my answer to anyone is like you start. And a good initiation is going to cost you more than you want to give.
Yeah. Yep.
Everyone wants to be initiated, but they want it to, you know, a good initiation. Yeah. If you've got 10 grand in your bank account, a good initiation will be $10,001.
Yeah.
It's going to ask for everything that you're attached to. That's and that's a good initiation has an appropriate threshold. Now, I'm not saying you need to drain your bank account, sell all your belongings, and go and rush off to the mountains of Peru. Do that. I reckon you'd have a lot of fun. But a good initiation would be appropriate, and it's going to ask for something more than you want to give. So quite often when we lead these retreats or these workshops, you know, the guys come and some guys it's they don't have the money. Other guys they don't have the time. Other guys, they just don't have the energy. They're like, I don't even know why I'm here. And I'm like, that's exactly why you're here.
Yes. But thank you for showing up.
Yeah. So there's always going to be a refusal on some level from somewhere, a resistance. And it's the ability to frame this journey and make this journey valid. Like, hey, bro, this is important that you do this. Because if you don't, it's going to cost you this, and this. So what we're learning to do as we develop this in Western culture is that we actually have to put everything out on display. It's like, hey man, like you can keep doing what you're doing, but you know, based on the data that we've got and based on the trajectory that you're on, like this is what it's going to cost you. And if you do this now, you're actually going to create all of that and more. So everything that you want, you're going to actually be able to create everything that you're working towards and you're on a trajectory to experience, you will actually get there. And not only will you get there, you'll actually be able to enjoy it. Which is the major thing that most men don't realize, is that they're working towards creating something just so they can feel good enough, instead of, hey, what if I did the work to reconnect to my enoughness, my inherent worthiness, and then when I get there, it's just a part of the game. Oh, wow, I've created the business. Oh, wow, I'm getting married. Oh, wow, the child is here, and I get to fully embrace that experience for what it is, rather than get to it and be exhausted because I've had to reach for it just to feel good enough.
And then there are two questions I have here, because I, in my own experiences as a woman and as someone, who's been in relationships, a lot of people don't know that they have feelings of not being enough. And most people don't actually know what they want. So if they don't know that they have the I'm not enough thing going on, and if they don't really know what they want, how can they step into this?
They can't. That's the sad bit. Not everyone's going to make it.
Yeah.
Not everyone's going to choose to do this work. Not everyone's going to have a good relationship. Not all of the men that are on the brink of suicide are going to find this work. Some of them are going to keep on. Men are going to keep on killing themselves for now. Like, we're not out of the woods. And there's going to be more losses and more heartbreak and more destruction. And that sucks. That doesn't mean that we can't have faith and hope and trust. Like, that's part of the journey. We must be willing to still put our faith in the hearts of men and women, even when things still, when things are looking worse than they are good right now. The decline in testosterone based on men's health, it's horrendous. It's fucking scary. With women's fertility, and seeing how that's all, like, that's fucking scary. Seeing what's happening with children and the fucking all of the learning difficulties and shit that like, it's not looking good for us as a humanity. But that doesn't mean that I don't believe we can change the course of our culture. I truly believe we can, but I'm not naive enough to believe that everyone is going to make it. Even though I'd like to think that. I just know that there's I've had I know that more tragedies coming. I know that more grief is coming. I know that more failures are coming in my life, and I know that there's more beauty, more success, and more joy. But what I would say is that you have a responsibility as a human, especially if you're a man, and I weave this into every workshop that I say you now have a responsibility as a man who has experienced and embodied this work, to be a spokesperson for the importance of this in your life and in the lives of other men. So I'm passing you this responsibility, and I'm not going to check in on you or hold you accountable, but I'm passing you the responsibility of, if you see a man who needs this, you tell him about it and you invite him in. I can't save everyone. As much as my story was, that was my job. I can't. I've got to go fishing. I got to cook pancakes with my wife and my son on Sundays. I got to live my life. I can't abandon myself any longer, because it's only going to create more suffering for me, which means that I need suffering outside of me to be good enough. Like, for me, it's like, I actually need to do what's right for me. And the way that I do that is I actually ask for support, and I share the responsibility with other men who are ready. And over time, it might be long after we're both gone. It might be in 7 generations' time, who knows, that we start to see the threads of a healthy culture woven into a beautiful, beautiful tapestry that then allows the foundation of incredible relationships, amazing, amazing healthcare and nutrition, beautiful, beautiful rites of passage for men, and the honoring of the natural cycles of woman that are woven within her womb. Like, if we actually trust that this is bigger than us, then we have to let go of it happening in our lifetime and let go of us being the sole reason that it happens. We have to put our trust back in our brothers and in our sisters. We have to put our trust back in the community and play our part. And that for me is like, I'm like, fuck, man, I thought I could just go get a job and forget about all this. Like, realistically, this is why didn't I just become an engineer and go and make $128,000 with a ute and a phone? Like, why does this matter? And it does, because it fucking matters. And I don't know, I don't have an answer as to when it's going to be better or when it's going to be worse, but I just know that you're not alone. If anyone's listening to this, if you're feeling these feelings of grief or the weight of the world, like, it's not all yours. None of it's actually yours. None of it's any of ours. This is all old weight. Our job is to remember that there's nothing actually wrong with us. And when we come back to ourselves and live from that deep place, whether you drive a bus, whether you are an accountant, whether you work at McDonald's, whether you're the president, the prime minister, the queen, whether you sweep floors, whether you are, the best life coach in the world, like, if you are living in alignment with your true core, then you are giving your gift to the world. And, my biggest moments of gift giving don't happen in my work. They happen in random moments where I'm asked by the universe, by God, by life to give my gift without expectation. And they're the most beautiful moments. And it's only when I have a relationship with life that I can realize that those moments are happening, and I can fully receive them and trust that, wow, no one gives a fuck how much money you got in your bank account at the end of the when everyone's at your funeral. No one gives a fuck about how many investment properties you had. No one cares about the 10 billion lives you changed. All of that's just a story. Like, people care about, did you live true to who you are? And people feel that, right? It's not words, it's a feeling. It's a sense. It's a felt sense. And it's not even felt through the heart, it's felt deep in the bones. It's like, it's not an emotion. This is soul level resonance. And I think this is what a lot of men don't understand, is that they spend so much time in their head that then they like, oh, well, I just don't want to be all in my heart and be all touchy-feely. It's like, cool, bro, like, you actually need to do that, yes. Get down into your heart and feel your feelings. But the head and the heart are just two sides of the same coin. Thoughts and feelings are just the same, two sides of the same coin. What we're actually asking you is to go deeper down into the still place, down into the soul world, down into your eternal being, and live from there. And then you can feel whatever's there and you can think whatever comes up. But neither of those are a true representation of who you are. They're just whatever's moving through you at that moment. That was a huge tangent, but I just felt like it was necessary to speak to.
Love tangents. I'm like, so many things are ding in my head right now, because one of the things that I always come back to, because for a really long time I was told as a young girl, and for those who are listening and not watching, I'm pointing to my heart. Your heart gets you into trouble, follow your mind. That was what I was told. And so for a really long time, as someone who's very deeply feeling, I was just like, no, my heart gets me into trouble. So my gut instincts, my intuitions, they're all wrong. I can't listen to those. I've got to listen to what my brain's telling me. And my brain was always so confused, because it's like, but I kind of just want to do what your heart's telling me to do. And I don't know what else to do. But I have to remind myself, and this is how I bring myself back to center, is that if anything happened to my brain, I can still exist and live and eat and do all the things. But if something happened to my heart, I'm dead. Like, you can be brain dead, but still fully function. I say fully function, you can still be alive. But if anything happens to your heart, you're dead. Like, that is an organ you cannot live without. You cannot neglect that organ. And so whenever I do get all up in my head, I remind myself, I'm like, no, we need to come back to the heart. What is this really here for? Like, what are you really feeling? What are you really missing? What are you not looking at? And it always comes back to my heart. It always comes back to how something's made me feel. So I love that you bring that up, because that's a wonderful tangent to go on. But also, I think to myself, and people can take this any way they want, but in order for us to be doing this work, suffering needs to exist. And not everyone's meant to make it. So that is a really hard truth that even I had to admit, because I'm one of those people that follow a lot of like dog rescues and shelters, and I sob like on a daily basis because my heart breaks. And one of my friends said to me, you have to stop that, first of all. But secondly, you have to accept the fact that suffering will always exist and that is their path. And I'm like, well, if I believe that to be everyone, like if I believe that everyone has a soul's journey, that's their soul's journey. I can't do anything about that suffering. But I still get really upset about all of that. So unhealthy amount of rescues I follow.
I think that's so I read a lot about grief. So grief is kind of my favorite thing at the moment. I'm reading like a really cool book at the moment called Die Wise, which is about which is by a guy named Stephen Jenkinson. He's a grief walker. But like what I would say for you, Chanel, in those moments is like you can actually make that part of your work. Like I'm actually here to grieve for the ones that can't. And your practice is to make that a contained practice. And you could actually use that to create a clearer, more potent channel for you to bring through who you truly are. But if you let yourself be taken by this emotional storm of rescue dogs, and you lose yourself in the emotions rather than contain it and use it as a way to alchemize through grief, once again, like that's the difference between an immature and a mature approach to what you're experiencing, right? But I think that's what I'm learning. I'm like, oh, I'm allowed to feel. I'm allowed to feel the pain of the world. I'm allowed to get frustrated about what's going on. And I must actually be able to contain that and utilize that to become as a way to connect deeper with who I am.
Whether it's grief or whatever other emotion people are feeling, how do you alchemize that? Like, how do people work out for themselves, like, I'm going to make this a container of, I don't know, purpose for me?
So the way that I have one statement instead of how can I beat this? How can I be with this?
Mm.
And that's the shift. So for you, it's like, how can I need to end dog suffering to how can I be with dog suffering? How can I be with that? I'm yet to meet a woman that has a huge heart and a passion to do good in the world that doesn't love dogs in the way that you've just expressed. It's such a beautiful thing. They say that dogs are also, I say dog is just God spelled backwards. Therefore, they're like beings of unconditional love. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And I think, if you had enough rooms in your house, you'd put all of the dogs you could in there. And like, that's just,
that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, that's just, what I would say is like, that's your practice. And, this will be a practice as you I don't know what your journey is with having children after, your experience with a miscarriage, but it's like, it's quite confronting to love something, because if you let something in, then there's the potential of losing it. And that's, I don't know about having your dogs in your house is like, but like, I'm terrified of leaving the gate open and my dog running out and getting hit by a car. I'm anxiously attached to my child. I'm anxiously attached to my dog. Like that's for me to work on. There's my work in opening to the truth. Like, fuck, I don't want dogs to suffer, but the truth is that dogs are suffering. And when we do the grief work in our workshops, it's like guys come in and they're wrestling with relationships that have broken down. They're wrestling with childhoods that weren't really childhoods. They were fucking, they were battlegrounds for a little boy. They're wrestling with the death of a close friend or a brother or a family member or a child. And what we do, and this is, this isn't, I share this not to give away our processes, but to, invite, like sometimes one of the experiences we've had is where a man had to we had to really, really hold him as he came to terms with the fact that his brother is gone. And his brother died 15 years ago. We've had another man come in and his father had committed suicide literally 35 years ago when he was 5 years old. His dad committed suicide. And he hadn't had the space to accept that and be angry about that and to grieve the last 35 years of looking to where his dad should have been and his dad wasn't there and not knowing why. And what we're doing is we're collapsing all of that weight into that moment and allowing it to go back into the earth, to be repurposed, to be essentially decomposed and worked through and digested by the earth, to then come back as fertile soil for what the next season of your life is here to provide. There's always got to be a letting go. There will always, and this is and that, that's why I share grief is not something that should be done alone. Grief was never the sole responsibility of the person who was feeling it. Grief was something that was held by the community, and why I believe that brotherhood for men is the medicine. There's a huge belief that we must experience our pain in private. And I know this is true for women as well. It's like, well, I'll do my healing behind closed doors, but then I'll show you the version of me that's come out the other side. Yeah, wow, look at you. It's like,
I did it.
But one of the biggest things is for all of us is to make sure that we have people around us that we trust with our pain, that we trust with our process, and that they're not going to make it mean something or use it in a way to perform or manipulate. And that's why I believe, safety is one of the most powerful pieces when it comes to creating appropriate containers for this work.
Do you want to age backwards, get better sleep, improve your memory, boost your immune function, and improve your circulation? Then the healing properties of red light therapy is your answer. When I noticed my skin, energy, and mood lacking luster, I spent countless hours researching the best solutions that would help me get my health back on track, and that's when I found EMR Tech. This science-backed, non-invasive treatment uses red and near-infrared light to activate your body's natural healing processes, supporting your body in boosting circulation, reducing inflammation, and assisting in the production of collagen. The results? Wow! Smoother skin, better sleep, less pain in the joints, more energy, and a serious glow up from the inside out. It's a powerful year-round solution that helps reset the negative effects of spending too much time indoors, on screens, and not getting enough sleep. I'm obsessed with my Firewave Pro panel, and it has become my go-to for deep cellular level healing. I just pop it on for 20 minutes every night before bed to wind down, reset, and recharge. It has made a world of difference to the quality of sleep I get each night and how my face shows up in the morning. To get yourself a glow up, head on over to www.emr-tech, that's tek.com/theskinI'min and use code theskinI'min for 30% off every order. I've popped the link and code in the show notes to make your life that little bit easier. Alrighty, let's get back to the show, folks. When you mentioned that whole thing of grieving as a community thing, I literally just got this beautiful download, maybe just a vision that was given to me of elephants and just how much they do that together. Like it is so present in nature still that they grieve together, they celebrate together, they eat together, they hunt together. There is no individual. And so I'm really moved by that, and at the same time saddened because we've all just been conditioned to think that that's one of the ugly parts that we need to hide. I can't even imagine what it would be like as a man to not be able to grieve something, regardless of what it is you've lost. I've never lost anyone that I truly deeply love in my life. So I am yet to experience that level of sadness. However, I've had to let go of so many versions of myself that I clung onto for dear life that I have deeply grieved many, many times, and especially when I did miscarry. I got to grieve before I actually miscarried for a week. And I remember asking my guides, sobbing on my yoga mat, being like, what is this here to teach me? And I heard, we just wanted to know how badly you wanted it. And in that moment, I was just like, oh, okay. And when I accepted that, the miscarriage started.
Mm.
And so I think that there is so much power in letting go of that grief, or being okay with it and allowing for it to move through you. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to be present at one of those gatherings and witnessing that, especially for men.
Yeah, like exactly what you said. Like one of the biggest things is like I want life to look this way. And one of the things we say is like, I wish it could have been a different way. That's the antithesis to grief. I wish it could have been another way. Well, guess what? It wasn't. Guess what? And to hold that lovingly and contain a man as he like fights against the truth, because I don't want it to be the way it is either, man. I fucking hate that your fucking brother died. I hate that this. I'm with you, man. And because I'm with you, I'm willing to be this for you, and I'm willing to be in this with you. And what we say in all of our workshops is like, when one man heals, we all heal. And that is the difference between men's work and joining a footy club, like, or joining a gym, or going and doing a workout. Like, there's like, we want you to win, but we don't need you to win. We want you to be you. Whereas at the footy club, it's like, yeah, we build camaraderie, and yeah, it's good but like, there's still an element of competition. In the gym, there's still an element of competition. When we do the deep work, when we do what we call men's work, it's got nothing to do with competition. It's got to do with sharing an experience and creating a depth that could not have been created on our own, for the good of all.
Yeah.
And that's a deeply spiritual thing. Like, that's the thing. It's like, what we do is deeply spiritual, and men have been taught to be in their heads. Men have been taught to control and to be the reliable, the dependable, the one that knows everything. And what I understand now is that, like, that's a part of being a man, keeping the wheels turning, keeping the show on the road. However, you must also be tethered to a deeper place within yourself, and a greater place beyond as well. You must have a spiritual practice. Otherwise, when things get wobbly and out of your control, what will you turn to? You won't have anything to turn to. You'll be scared, and you'll avoid the mystery, or the greater unknown, because you haven't been working with it in a healthy, regenerative way.
Which would make sense as to why men turn to things like alcohol, drugs, sex, and all those things to be able to
life
deal
rafts.
with it.
They're life rafts.
Yeah.
And we say, if you're going to drown, bro, drown. Stop hopping in these life rafts. Like, it's time to drown.
Oh, drowning's wonderful. Like, not physical drowning, like spiritual drowning's wonderful.
Well, it takes
you get to like breathe when you come out of there. Like, you take that first breath, and when you've had that moment, that is heaven. It's heaven. People don't understand why I'm so committed to growth and these conversations and spreading these conversations. Yeah. I'm like, if you knew what's on the other side of you being afraid to jump in, you would just jump all the time.
And that's the beautiful thing, in this work, is like, we encourage people to see life rafts are a part of life. The porn, like if I don't know, I'm sure if we deleted all the porn from the internet, threw away all the porn magazines, and we're like, okay, no more porn. That's bad. It's like, and I'm like, I've watched a lot of porn through my 20s, and it's something that's like, it rears its head. I've got a real dark I have a real dark, passionate beast in me. So I'm like, I want it all. I love women. I love the idea of like, and I love my woman, and like, I'm very passionate and very very comfortable going into like my sexuality these days. But at the same time, like, if we just got rid of all the porn right now, I guarantee you within 24 hours, it'll be back there. Porn isn't the problem. It's why men are choosing it, right?
Yes.
So for me,
it's like how they tried to ban dog dog racing here and
Yeah.
horse racing. It like lasted a weekend, and then everyone was back at the bookie's office booking to gamble. I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
The thing about men is that we're fucking animals. We must learn to relate with the animal part of us appropriately. So porn, alcohol, drugs, social media, all of these things that feed us without risk and provide relief are life rafts. It's like, oh, this is going to just keep me, it's just going to take the edge off so I don't do anything fucking stupid. I guarantee you that a lot of men who are addicted to alcohol, if they didn't have alcohol, they would have done something violent towards the people that they love, or they would have killed themselves. And I've spoken to a lot of men with alcohol addictions, and it's because of some deep wound and some deep grief that has not had the space to be seen, held, understood, cherished, and released. So for me, this is where I get frustrated with the world, and this is where I get passionate, is that I truly believe that men are here to do the deep work, and that's really not about just constantly doing the deep work, but I believe that men are here to do the deep work regularly so they can stay attuned to who they are. And then I don't think all of the problems that we're experiencing outwardly on a macro scale would exist if we all started to really focus on ourselves.
oh yeah. I mean, how often do you see people blaming things like the government for the issues that we have in our country? I'm like, look at yourself before you comment stupid things. Are you doing anything about it?
Yeah, you don't have to listen to them if you don't want to. Like, you don't have to play their game. Like, I just don't play the game. It's like, cool. Like, I pay my tax drip by drip. I don't pretend like I don't want. Like, I like having roads. I like the idea that if I break my leg, an ambulance can come and pick me up. I'm not going to fight authority anymore. I'm going to.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I think this is a really important piece for anyone that's spiritually developed and they think that we're here to birth the new earth and get out and break out of the matrix. I want to remind everyone of the age-old saying of like, change occurs from within. So if change occurs from within, how do we change culture? How do we change society? How do we change what we're experiencing? Do we change it by escaping it and running off and creating a new little community outside of it? Or do we change it from within?
Yeah.
And that's it.
If we're constantly outsourcing it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we're just going to build the new earth. I'm like, where? We've only got one earth. It's like, don't stop. I am not going anywhere. I like it here. And in some way, shape or form, I like that we've got, even though it's not perfect, I like that we've got some structure to work with. It's not perfect. A lot of it's fucked up, yes, but it's only going to change by us staying with and being with what is and staying true to ourselves and becoming pillars that people can start to rely upon, that people can consistently come to and be like, hey, I feel your truth. If we're out in the bush hiding from the matrix and running off to create the new earth when it's really just 30 of us fucking eating bananas and dancing to psytrance and taking acid, like that's not the new earth.
That is not the new earth.
No, the new earth is
I feel like you've kind of missed the point.
Yeah. The new earth is found in leaning into these relationships. It's having the courage to say, hey, I want this. What would you like? Hey, I want a relationship with you, and I want to learn more of who I am through this. And that's been my journey with, even the last 2 weeks, having like this huge unraveling of my identity. I felt more loved. And Meg said, I feel so happy. And I was like, I don't know whether it's because she's like, I've been loving doing all of these things for you. And I'm like, I didn't realize how much pain I was causing you by keeping you out, by pushing you away. I didn't realize how much love you actually had to give until I acknowledged that it was okay for me to receive just because you want to give it, not because I've earned it. And it's completely redefined my relationship, and I'm 11 years in. And like, we have a pretty good, like, that's our whole thing. Our relationship is sick. We got a cool relationship. Like, look at us. This is what we talk about. But even so, in the last 2 weeks, I felt more love than I've ever felt in the last 11 years. Like, I've felt more connection than I could have ever imagined in the last 11 years, just in the last 2 weeks, because I've opened to it. Had nothing to do with Meg. She was there just, checking, knocking, when's he going to let me in? And that I'd let her in every now and then and give her a little taste. But like, I feel like I've finally like unlocked the door or given her the key and said, hey, you belong here. And that's, if I could give every man a task, I'd be like, get a key cut to your heart and give it to the person that you trust the most, and have faith that she'll do the right thing by you. And that's a huge ask. I know, man. I know that's a huge ask, but I highly recommend it. It'll change your life.
Goosey's all over just listening to that, because I'm like, there are so many men who are like, no thanks. Get out. Get out of my room. Close the door. So how does archetype mapping play into this? Like, how does that help shift perspective, like, of the self for men?
So one of the things that we do at our big event, and that we've woven more regularly, is myth and story. So what we do is, through myth and story, we provide meaning to the madness. So a lot of men get overstimulated by the matter in their life, and they're like, what's the fucking point? It's all a mess. So what archetypal mapping and story and myth do is that they provide a blueprint for you to make sense of your life. So a lot of men aren't given a map to their inner world. They're given get a job, make money, buy a house, find a woman, have some kids, retire at 65, maybe go to Coffs Harbour, for a 2-week holiday once a year.
Coffs Harbour?
I'm from the country, so Coffs Harbour was like the place.
Yeah.
But that we're given a very linear, very stock standard map based on, for some people most men it's some kind of thing around, if you either get good grades and go to uni, or get a job, find a way to make enough money to pay for a house and look after your family, and once or twice a year do something for them that keeps them happy enough, and do that, rinse and repeat for the next 40 years. And then when you retire, you'll be right. Make sure you've got a footy team that you like, that keeps you occupied on weekends. Make sure you've got you've got a club that you're a part of that has you obsessing over something outside of yourself that keeps you distracted. Here's some sugar, here's some salt, here's some fucking dopamine, here's the movies that keep you, engaged. What archetypal mapping and essentially myth does is it gives you a blueprint and a way of working with your internal world and bringing a deeper meaning to your life. So for me, archetypal mapping awakens the personal myth, which is like, what's the story of Jacob? What wants to be written? What wants to be written? Rather than, I'm going to write the same thing every year for the next 30 years, 40 years. What wants to be written? And we use, the 4 key archetypes of king, warrior, magician, lover. And what we do is we show men where they're either overactive or underactive in the shadow. So the shadow of, say, the king is the tyrant and the weakling. The tyrant is an overactive, immature king, like an overgrowth. And then the weakling is an underactive king. It's the underactive, immature version. So you're going to tend towards one or the other in each of these, in the king, warrior, and the magician, lover. And what we do is we start to see how that is actually stopping you from embodying or maturing into the archetypal power that is available from each of these 4. That then gives you something to work with. That gives you something to actually like, oh, cool. So whenever I'm, step into a leadership position, I become really aggressive. I become really tyrannical. I need to make sure that everyone follows my lead no matter what. Oh, cool. I've got the tyrant. Far out. I need to actually learn how to balance that with some compassion. I probably need to learn how to relate a bit better and learn about it's safe and I can trust other people. Maybe I have a brotherhood wound here. Maybe I'm scared to let other people help me and I need to force them to do it ruling with fear. Wow, okay. I can now see what material I can work with inside of myself to then create a more cohesive experience outside of myself. So archetypal mapping is like, for me, it's like men's work 101. It's a huge part of getting real with yourself and seeing that, there's some work for me to do, not just on my business or my relationship, but on myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm not too sure if I over-explained that, yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I'm sitting here thinking, is there a women's group that does this? There's got to be a women's group that does this, because I'm fascinated by this now, because I have heard, I was speaking to a kinesiologist and we did talk a little bit about the crone. She was telling me about the crone and I was like, what's a crone? Isn't that like a disease? She's like, so I was like, oh, okay, got it. Yep.
And I would
so
say
this is just really interesting.
I would say, like, what you're talking about, like, I would say that, like, I say this to Meg. I said, Meg, like, our best work is probably going to happen when we are in the stage of like elder and crone. And like, I know for me, I just want to be Yoda. I want to sit on the edge of the village and people come out and ask me deep philosophical questions and I give them the answer and they go out and do it. I was like, I would love that as my job. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not an elder yet. I'm really a prince. And this is another, if any of your listeners want to, really, do some reading or some listening, Alison Armstrong has 2 really great talks on Audible. The Amazing Development of Men and Understanding Women. They're 2 different books. They're like seminars that she talks, but she speaks about the stages of manhood. And there's and we look at these as like, in your 20s, you're normally a knight. You come into your 30s, you're a prince. You get into your 40s, you're a king, and you come into after your 40s, 50s, you get into like your elder, and then eventually you then die and become an ancestor. And the whole idea of that is like knowing where you're actually at and accepting that. So for me, I'd love to be a king. I'd love to have already built the kingdom and have the big house and have the big business and be renowned and recognized. But the fact of the matter is I'm a young prince. I'm at the beginning of my journey. I'm about 4 years in with my business, and it's still hard. I'm still taking responsibility and wanting to run back to the barracks and hang out with the knights and not have any responsibility, But the truth is, that's not where I'm going. So when we map archetypally and we provide a blueprint, we actually show men where they're at in their life and what's possible if they want to go on the journey forward. You don't have to, but now you've got the awareness. It's going to be pretty hard not to. That's the kind of catch-22 with awareness, is once you've got it, the tickle of the feather becomes a brick through the window, and then once enough bricks come through the window, the bus will arrive.
Yeah, you can't undo that. Once you pass through that, I'm no longer ignorant to my own shit threshold. There's no going back.
Oh, unfortunately not. Yeah, sometimes it'd be nice to just take a day off, but that's that's what being human is, and that's why it's so important to remember that, hey, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong with where I'm at. Nothing is wrong with where I'm at. And let's take another step.
I'd love an ignorance is bliss day.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just give me one of those a month. Yeah. I'd be good with that.
You just have to turn this off. Turn this off, and then go into nature, and like eventually, like maybe in the last hour, you'll feel that. That's what I've found. It's like it only takes me about 7 hours to reach that with no stimulation. It's like, and then for an hour, I'm like, here it is.
Yeah. Bliss. It does feel nice. Jacob, when you think of all the things that you've learnt in the last few years, is there anything that you wish you knew sooner?
I wish I knew it was safe. I wish I knew it was safe to share my struggles. Like the thing that I've repeatedly come up against is like, it's safe to fuck up. I'm terrified of being I'm terrified of getting into trouble. But that's my story. I don't want to get into trouble. So when I do fuck something up, I normally try to fix it or hide it. So for me, it's like, it's safe to make mistakes. I think if I could say to all the men, I'm like, hey bro, it's safe to make mistakes, and it's safe for you to share those mistakes. so you can get the help and support that you need, and the love that's going to help you move forward and try again. In my wedding vows, I shared, this is like a statement that I kind of live by now, and I try to practice as best I can. It's like I said to Meg, I said, "You've taught me to love the parts of me that I never thought were worthy of love." And I think that that's such a beautiful thing.
Did she sob?
It got her. It was a great line. It got everyone. I'm really proud of that line. But it's something that I pray that every man will one day experience with a woman, you know, provided that he wants to be heterosexual relationship. It's like, I pray that, you know, that you find someone that can show you how to love the parts of you that you never believed were worthy of love, and let that be an experience that you get to have in your lifetime. Because for me, it's been the greatest gift. And, you know, all the sex, all the amazing trips, all the things we've done, they're all great. Yeah, it's beautiful to have all that, but that's probably been the one thing that out of that she's given me that no one else has come close to.
It's the legacy you want to leave behind.
It sounds a bit, I just want to be a good neighbor. I think that's a really important piece for me. Like, he was a good neighbor. Like, and that, I think that sort of leans toward the, you know, if you're a good neighbor, you know, you're not too far from home. You're not out there reaching beyond what's important. Yeah, I had a big grand thing that I could have said, but like that's our hidden agenda with men's work. It's like, we want you to be good neighbors, so your communities thrive. We don't actually need to go to Mars. We don't need. We've got to.
No.
One thing that I've said recently is like, we've already won, so why are we still competing?
Yeah.
We've all, like, I've really just come to that realization, is like, I've already won. I have a woman who loves me, a healthy child. I live on the Gold Coast. I'm doing work that is meaningful and on some level fills me up, and, you know, it's still work, but it's like, oh, I've already won. So why am I still trying to compete? Why am I still trying to win something that I've won at life? And I think that's what I would really love most men to realize, is like, when you stop, bro, and you actually look around, you'll probably realize that you've got everything that you've got more than you could have ever imagined. And if more men did that, we wouldn't have as much friction and as much unnecessary destruction and construction going on in the world. We don't need to be building everything. We don't need to be building all the time.
Yeah.
Mm.
And lastly, Jacob, I would love to know what you love about the man that you are today.
That's that right now. That has been such a hard question to be with. Like, it's making me emotional. I don't really know myself, is what I'm realizing. And what I love, I guess, about myself the most, or what I love about the man I am right now, is that my willingness to be with what is. It's like, I would say it's my authenticity. It's like, I'm not sure about who I am. And as a leader and as a person that's meant to have it all together, and someone who I think I should be, like, right now, I really love my sensitivity. That's what I love about me, is my sensitivity. And I love that about me.
Jacob, this conversation has been so filling for my heart. Please tell the listeners where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Amazing. Yeah. Best place to find me is over on Instagram at the Jacob O'Neill. I'm sure we'll put that in the show notes. We've got the Gathering of Men coming up. So if you're a man who wants to experience the work that we do, the Gathering of Men is an incredible 4-day retreat here on the Gold Coast. An incredible lineup of facilitators. Tickets are only $1,000. It's a beautiful experience. A great way to get your foot in the door and experience a variety of different types of men's work and men's leaders. And then from there, you'll be able to sort of pick your route. You know, there's so many different ways you can do this work, and the Gathering of Men is a great place to start. So we'd love to see you there, brother.
If you are interested in connecting with Jacob, I will include in the episode description and across socials links and ways you can do that. So if you haven't already, head on over to Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and follow the Skin I'm In podcast to be the first to know when new episodes drop. Jacob, thank you so much for being a guest on the Skin I'm In podcast.
Right on. Big love.
This conversation has made me feel two things. On one hand, a deep, deep sense of sadness that men are struggling so much and in silence and isolation. And on the other, I can't help but feel the heart of every woman who is really tired of trying to love a man who has wounds he cannot see, is not willing to see, and is too afraid to see. I can only speak from a woman's perspective, and the experience of many is that we pour ourselves into the potential of the men that we love, because we see things in you that you can't yet see in yourself. But there comes a point where love poured endlessly into an empty cup only drains us. Most women eventually draw a line in the sand. This isn't about blaming men or victimizing women. It's about love and the truth that women cannot keep sacrificing themselves for the men they love. At some point, we must decide, who do we fight for and who must we release? Jacob's perspective, his own hardships, his willingness to wear grief and suffering on his sleeve is proof that a man can walk through the sewage of his own thoughts, patterns, and behaviors and still own his mistakes, show up, and create a path for other men to do the same. This conversation has also asked me to reflect on my view of leadership. After 18 years working in close partnership with C-suite executives, I've seen leadership in many forms. And this is what I've come to know. True leadership never comes at the cost of yourself. It comes when you own yourself, take accountability, nurture it, tend to it, and expand it. Those who fake and dominate their way to leadership burn many bridges, but those who get there with authenticity and purpose, they don't just have successful careers. They have super fans, employees that will follow them wherever they go. Jacob's work gives me hope, not just because there are men facilitating healing and initiation for other men, but because I see how deeply men crave initiation, intimacy, and connection, and how lost they feel in holding it. My hope is that we, as men and women, can create a world where it's safe for men to let old versions of themselves die, knowing they'll be held and guided through it. This conversation stirred a lot in me. I'd love to know what it stirred in you. Let me know in the comments below. With gratitude and grace, have a wonderful day.